Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow on 88.3 FM WXOU, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Oakland University, and all your wonderful station identification features. I'm your man, GioMoShow, your host of the GioMoShow and sports media director here at WXOU, and the GioMoShow is your home for all Oakland sports and beyond on 88.3 FM. Don't forget to follow the GioMoShow on our MAB award-winning social media platforms. Don't forget to follow me as well. Both me and WXOU can be found on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you miss a live show here, then not to worry, because you can find me later on Spotify and YouTube at your own convenience. So there's no way to miss the GioMoShow. For you today, as usual, I got a wonderful show for you guys. I can't wait. I love coming here in the studio to do the live show. I got updates for you on Oakland baseball, as this will be the last bit of fresh Oakland sports, as baseball is the last sport to wrap up their season in this school year. So we're going to give you the last update, how Oakland did in the Horizon League baseball tournament held in Dayton, Ohio, hosted by Wright State. As well, we're going to have even more baseball. We got USPBL baseball that we're going to be covering here. As you know, the GioMoShow is the home of the biggest Eastside Diamond Hoppers fan around, that being me. So we're going to give you the update on week 2.5, as there was a week 3 game was played just earlier today. I'm going to give you an update on the standings of the USPBL and how each team has played. And finally, we're going to give you a wonderful first-time screening, listening to, or whatever you would call an audio screening of the second edition of Fraud Watch. If you remember, on March 30th, I was here in the studio with my wonderful executive producer and brother, Nino Mosheri. We were here talking about Fraud Watch. Fraud Watch is a segment here on the GioMoShow conceived. I'll give the credit to my brother on this one. I'll give the credit to Nino for Fraud Watch. Whenever we're watching basketball and he sees a player that's not meeting the expectations that has been set for him or for the team, then he considers them to be on Fraud Watch. So we converted that into a segment here on the show, and this today is part 2 of it. First time was before the playoffs. This time it's before the finals. We're going to do a third one after the finals to give a fresh update on the fluidity and the standings, or the fluid standings of Fraud Watch. So I'm going to play that for you in the second half of the show, but for the first half, I'm going to give you all those baseball updates, baby. And before we get started, let me tell you about Bart's Pizza. Bart Basilico reinvented his father's pizzeria business by putting it on wheels. I'm talking a pizza food truck, baby. Bart and his wife Lauren travel all around Metro Detroit, cooking up homemade pies made fresh to order in their 4-layered pizza oven on wheels. You can find them on their website at eatbartspizza.com, as well as Facebook and Instagram at Bart's Pizza. His last name is literally Basil, so you know he knows what he's doing. And while you're at it, while you see him at the wonderful Bart's Pizza truck, make sure to grab a cannoli as well. Bart's Pizza, it's too good.
Yo, 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 I'm Jake Masucci from Jake's Takes. I wanted to talk a little bit about my show on my guy Giovanni's own show. And I wanted to talk about a little bit about Jake's Takes. I'm a student manager at Oakland University, and I kind of just talk all things sports. I talk a lot about the NBA, talk a little college basketball. We did a lot of March Madness stuff recently. We talked about NBA playoffs, NFL playoffs, talked a lot about the NFL draft. It's basically just an all things sports show. I really think you guys would enjoy it. And shout out to my guy Giovanni. Love him. But please check out Jake's Takes. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and then it's also available on its own YouTube channel. So please check out Jake's Takes, but please continue enjoying Giovanni's show.
So let's get into the GioMoShow here. Oakland baseball, they just competed in the Horizon League Championship Tournament. That's big money right there. That's the stuff. That's what the whole season is leading up to here. It was held in Dayton, Ohio, hosted by Wright State. Wright State, who has won 4 out of the last 5 Horizon League championships, the last 4 of them being in a row. So they were held in their house. I'm going to take you through the journey to and through the Horizon League tournament. So Oakland comes into the tournament as the second seed, as they were able to beat Northern Kentucky in the last weekend of play, as the winner of that series was going to be awarded that second seed and a first-round bye that Oakland definitely took advantage of. So Northern Kentucky was able to make it back. Them having to play in the first round. Northern Kentucky won their game in the first round to face Oakland in the second. So for 4 games, so this is the 4th Northern Kentucky game for Oakland in a row. And I'll be honest, I was a little bit nervous when I saw that Northern Kentucky was going to be our opponent because that series was kind of close, and that they have plenty of first-team All-Horizon League athletes on there. So I was kind of thinking oh man, that might be a little bit tough. But not to worry, Oakland was able to take care of business as they were able to beat the Norse 13-8 on their way to the semifinals. In that semifinals that they were able to make it to, they faced the hosting team. They faced Wright State. The team, as I mentioned before, won 4 out of the last 5 Horizon League championships, who beat them 23-0 in last year's Horizon League championship game, who beat Oakland 5 out of the last 6 times they played in this regular season. And Wright State was, of course, the 1 seed going into this tournament with single-digit Horizon League losses. This game went down all the way to the extra inning, tied at 5 apiece. Oakland made the game-winning run in extra innings to finally beat the Raiders and advance to the championship game, sending Wright State down to the consolation bracket where they were going to have to claw their way back if they wanted to get their hands on another Horizon League championship, and Oakland was the one to send them down. And it was just a fantastic game. It was very exciting. You saw all the social media for Golden Grizzlies go crazy with the celebrations in the dugout and running onto the field and finally feeling a little bit more validated in the Horizon League, but it was not lost on them that they still had more work to do. So when Wright State was knocked down into the consolation bracket, they faced Milwaukee. And in a very, very close game, Milwaukee with the chance to finally eliminate Wright State from this tournament that they've been just owning for so long. And unfortunately, we're not able to get it done as the Raiders were able to beat the Panthers 2-1. And that means Wright State was back in the championship game against Oakland, the team that took them down. And so the rules for this tournament, and it's the same as softball, and usually the same with any kind of consolation bracket, a loser's bracket, in a tournament like this, is that the team that comes from the loser's bracket, from the consolation bracket, has to beat their opponent twice in order to get the championship. That's their punishment for losing a game in the tournament. The team that gets there through the winner's bracket, through the initial bracket, let's say, only has to win once to get the championship. And this was the opposite that we saw in last year's Horizon League tournament. It was the same matchup. It was Oakland and Wright State, but it was Oakland who came from the consolation bracket and had to beat Wright State twice. Unfortunately, that game, like I mentioned before, ended in 23-0. This year was different. Not in result, but different in the way it happened. So in Game 1, a little bit of a spoiler, but in Game 1, Oakland, they got out to a 3-0 lead after the second inning, courtesy of a Reggie Bussey double that batted in Jared Miller and Ryan Dykstra, as well as Brandon Heidel grounding out for a sacrifice RBI. Wright State was able to fight back in the third inning with a single home run and an RBI to make the score now 3-2 after 3 innings. But you've still seen Oakland on top. You're watching the game. I was watching it. I was watching the ESPN broadcast. We watched it outside because my father hooked up a little TV outside on the patio. Enjoyed the nice weather and was able to watch some baseball. And I was feeling pretty good about this. A lot of Oakland people were feeling pretty good about it. Us and WXOU Live Sports included. We were texting each other throughout the entire game. It was feeling pretty good, but of course we were still a little bit nervous. This is Wright State after all. So another single home run. So moving into the fourth inning, another single home run was scored by the Raiders by the same guy who hit the initial home run to tie the game in the fourth inning 3-3. Oakland was able to get some scoring back in the fifth inning, scoring another 3 runs to make it 6-3, courtesy of an Ian Cleary single that batted in both Brandon Heidel and Gabe Lux, and also a Lucas Luz flyout sacrificed for an RBI to get Brandon Nye to score. So that's another 3 points. You get 6-3 after the fifth inning. You're still feeling pretty darn good. But by the time we get to the 7th inning, the game was tied at 8-8. Wright State was able to get back into this game. They got to 8-8, partly brought to you by Lucas Lewis singling to left field for an RBI to score to bring Brandon Nye home. Ryan Dykstra hit in a triple to left field for an RBI for Lucas Lewis to score. So, like I was saying, both teams tied 8-8 in the 7th inning. Both defenses hold strong. It's still 8-8 after the 8th inning. We go into the 9th inning, and it was Wright State that had the last laugh in this game 1. They hit another single home run into left field to decide the game and give them the 1-point lead and game 1 with a score of 9-8. Oakland still has another chance now, but Wright State did achieve the bracket reset, making the next game winner take all in the Horizon League. And you saw throughout the game, after game 1, you definitely saw some holes in Oakland's pitching. When they were up 3-0, it was very solid pitching, but Wright State's strategy was to stack up the pitches on the arms of Oakland on the mound. They're stacking up really quick. Within 3 innings, I believe it was Densmore that was the starting pitcher. By the 3rd inning, he already had 50-plus pitches, and they had to switch him out. And the bullpen and the depth there, that's where Wright State was able to take advantage. So you saw that in that very tough loss in game 1 where you kind of think you barely held on, and you got another game to play in just an hour. Who else are you going to trust in the bullpen? Oakland still had some weapons, but you could tell that's when Wright State was starting to take advantage of. And game 2 was just ugly. The scoring started with Wright State in the 2nd inning with a grand slam. And you thought, oh my God, you were, as an Oakland fan, getting so close to their first Horizon League championship in program history, coming off of the best 2 seasons they've had in program history. To see it start with a grand slam, you're like, this game is going to be like last year's. And that's how it ended up being. The score was not that high, but it was still a shutout in the championship game against Wright State. The final score was 14-0. I'm not going to get too detailed into the scores, but with that grand slam in the 2nd inning, Wright State ended that inning with 6 runs, and they got 7 runs in the 3rd inning and just coasted from there. They picked up another run later in the game, but I couldn't watch the whole thing, unfortunately. It was just such disappointment as a fan. I'll just be blunt about it. It was such a disappointment to see us get so close and to just have Wright State just put their boots down and just do their thing, man. But you got to hand it to Wright State. Man, that's a really good team. They hit so many home runs. Oakland, I believe it was Thomas Green that led the team in home runs with 10. Wright State had either 3 or 4 guys over 10 home runs, the highest being 18, or I think even closer to 20. So I think it was Jay Lucart that was at 17 coming into this game, and I think he hit the 3 home runs throughout the 2 games. But, man, Wright State's got it going in baseball at least. So you got to give credit to where credit's due. You don't win 4 championships in a row, 5 out of the last 6. I was wrong. I misspoke at first. 5 out of the last 6 championships went to Wright State, and man, you just got to give it to them. But as we mentioned before, there are still some positives to take away from this season after that really ugly ending. Oakland has reached the Horizon League championship game for the 2nd year in a row now. They're the 2nd seed in the Horizon League for the 2nd year in a row now. They've won 60 games in the past 2 seasons, which is the most in the school's D1 baseball history. They won 40 Horizon League games, including tournament. Again, most in D1 program history. So, I would say the Grizzlies are in very good hands. Coach Jordan Banfield has done a fantastic job in his 3 years on the job here at Oakland, giving us this historic run so far, and it's only looking to continue into next season. So I'm still very excited about Oakland baseball, and are going to be really looking forward to continuing to cover them into next year. So congratulations to Wright State, and a well done to the Grizzlies. So that does not leave me a whole lot of time to get to the USPBL Baseball League, the United Shore Professional Baseball League, of which I'm the biggest Hoppers fan you'll find around, and I dare you to find someone who proves it otherwise. So we finished up week 2, and we're getting into week 3 here in the USPBL. I got to get into it pretty quick because it was a bit of a longer episode of Fraud Watch that's going to be coming up soon. So I got to, leave enough time for it. But USPBL currently, or I shouldn't say currently, but the week 2 standings. It was number 1 with my Diamond Hoppers 3-1. Underneath them was the Utica Unicorns 2-1. Mammoths 3rd place 2-3, and the reigning champion Beavers 1-3. The games in this past weekend were played on the weekend of May 26th, and they're starting now this weekend. So it was May 26th was the Diamond Hoppers and Beavers. 7-5 was the final score in favor of the Hoppers. May 27th was a doubleheader between the Unicorns and the Mammoths, splitting that series. Game 1 was 6-3 in favor of the Unicorns, and then Game 2 was 3-2 in favor of the Mammoths. May 30th was an afternoon game between the Beavers and the Mammoths, and the Mammoths were able to come out with a win 11-3 against the reigning champions. The Beavers played again, this time against the Hoppers, to deliver their second loss of the season. They give them their first loss of the season, as the Beavers were able to beat the Hoppers 9-5 on May 31st. And then earlier today was another afternoon game for the Hoppers, as they lost to the Utica Unicorns 2-1. I'll give you some more detail on all those games, but that's a scoreboard for this week on for USPBL. I'll get into the game in a little bit more detail right now. So May 26th was Hoppers and Beavers, Hoppers winning 7-5. So in this game, my Hoppers dug themselves out of a 5-1 hole after the second inning against the Beavers. Both teams scored a single run in the first inning, but then the Beavers had 4 in the second inning to give them that lead. One off of a Hopper error, another was a sac fly, another error, and an RBI single. It was just sloppy play for the Frogs at first, but they locked things up after that, as the Beavers did not score after the second inning. The Hoppers continued their scoring. They got a single RBI in the third inning to cut it out to 5-2. The Hoppers then got a 2-run home run in the 5th to make it 5-4 in the 5th inning. And it wasn't until the 8th inning that the Hoppers were able to gain the lead 6-5 off of 2 runs, one off of a Beaver error and another off of a sac fly RBI. And then finally, for the cherry on top, the Hoppers solidified their lead in the game with a score off of a wild pitch, giving the final score of 7-5. Hoppers' Joe Berkey was named the player of the game, going 1-for-4 at bat, and that one at bat hit the 2-run home run in the 5th inning, which was instrumental in getting the Hoppers' lead. Some other notable Hoppers were Alex Pupp, who went 1-for-4 at bat with a run and an RBI, and Noah McCraw went 2-for-3 at bat, 2 runs and an RBI as well. And the star pitcher of the game was Luke Drummond, who pitched for only 2 innings, but allowed just a single hit, no runs, and 4 strikeouts for the Frogs. So in the following game, this was Saturday the 29th, it was the Diamond Hoppers, or it was a doubleheader of the Unicorns and the Mammoths. I have DH written in my notes. It makes me think of Diamond Hoppers. So doubleheader of the Unicorns and the Mammoths, of which the games were split. Game 1 belonged to the Unicorns. The Mammoths, they started out that game with a 2-0 lead after the first inning with a 2 RBI single. But the Unicorns answered back in the third inning with 4 runs to go up 4-2 after that third inning, scoring off a wild pitch with the bases loaded, a 2 RBI double, and then an RBI single to get that 4 runs in that inning. And then the Unicorns did not let the Mammoths back in the game, as the Mammoths only had a single other run for the rest of the game. And the Unicorns topped the game off with a 2 RBI single in the 6th inning to give them the 6-3 win. The Unicorns' Justin Gomez had a great game hitting, went 1-for-3 with a hit, a run, and 2 RBIs. Moving on to Game 2 of that series, it was a lot more defense in this one. The Mammoths held the Unicorns scoreless all the way until the 6th inning, which happened to be the final inning of that game. I still got to figure out what dictates how many innings are played in a doubleheader, because I originally thought it was 7 innings played in a doubleheader, and then I see this series was 6 in each. So this one was a lot more defensive. The Mammoths, they started the scoring with a single run in the first inning, which was a single home run. They continued the scoring in the third inning with another run off of a wild pitch and another run in the fifth inning off of an RBI double to go up 3-0 going into the sixth inning. But the Unicorns made it close. They had 2 runs in that last inning, but the Mammoths were able to cut it short and give them the 1-point lead to win the game 3-2. Mammoths' Francis Florentino had a really good game with 2 for 2 at bat with 2 runs and an RBI, including all those stats, including the single home run to get things started for the Mammoths. So well done to the Mammoths, having a pretty good stretch so far, and that continues into the next game. That being the Mammoths and the Beavers, where the Mammoths were able to win 11-3 on May 30th. This was an afternoon game. A lot of action in this one. So the Beavers, they started the game with a single run in the first inning off of a walk. But then the Mammoths, they dropped 3 at their turn in the first inning with a ground-out RBI and then a 2-run home run. The Beavers did fight back with another 2 runs in the second inning to tie the game 3-3. One off of an RBI double and another off of a wild pitch. And that's where the scoring ended for the Beavers. They stayed locked at 3 as the Mammoths just kept piling on. They had an RBI when they dropped 4 in the second inning to stretch that lead. It was an RBI single, a 2 RBI triple, and then another RBI single. Mammoths continued the scoring with another 3 in the fifth inning. This off of a 3 RBI double, a big, big hit. And then the cherry on top was the 7th inning, scoring off of a batter hit by a pitch with bases loaded, giving them the final score of 11-3 in favor of the Mammoths. Getting into, pardon me for a second here, getting into the rest of the games as we're running a little bit low on time here, at least for my segment for USPBL. We're going to be getting into Fraud Watch really soon here. Going to be playing the interview, or the episode rather, with my executive producer Nina Mosheri. So stick around to the JioMoShow. But May 31st, that being yesterday, the Hoppers got their first loss against the Beavers. And I'll take you through what happened in this one. So it was the Beavers that started the scoring with a single run in the first inning. This being a RBI double. Hoppers were not able to respond. No runs in the first inning. Beavers extended the lead 2-0 in the second inning off of an RBI single. I'm reading the box score live here. I wasn't able to get to all the notes in time for the show here. But then the Diamond Hoppers, they come back, and I mean way back. They get 5 runs in the bottom of the second inning to respond to go up now 5-2. And a lot going on in this one. You had a RBI single. You had a... Oh, what happened in this one? I'm trying to read the box score. It's so much dense information if you're looking at it. If you go on USPBL.com, you can find the box score under the schedule tab under game results. You can find the box score here, and you can get an idea of what I'm reading here. So you get a walk that turned into a stolen base that turned into a double for an RBI. And then you get a 2 RBI double. I'm going to stop doing this. This is bad radio. Anyway, the Hoppers get 5 runs in the bottom of the second inning. The Beavers respond in the third with 3, and it was all Beavers from there. Scores were frozen at 5-5 all the way until the 8th inning, where the Beavers had 2 consecutive innings of 2 runs each, giving the Beavers the win against the Hoppers 9-5. Beavers had 10 hits in this game with 2 errors, and the Hoppers had 7 hits with a single error. Some top dogs in this game was Chris Davis of the Beavers, 1 for 4 at-bats with a run and 2 RBIs, as well as Ben Wilcoxon went 3 for 2 at-bat with 2 runs. And you got J.D. Stubbs went 2 for 5 with a run and 2 RBIs in this game. So a lot of Beaver action going on. And not a whole lot for my Hoppers. Todd Maddox, the third baseman, he went 1 for 4 with a run and 2 RBIs. Otherwise, not much for the Frogs in this one. And then finally, the latest game of the USPBL season was played just earlier today. It was a 105 game between the Unicorns and the Hoppers, and it was a close one. The Unicorns were able to win it 2-1, and that win sends them to the top seeding of the USPBL, now sitting at 3-1 and setting the Hoppers to 3-2. So in this game here, it was a lot more defense. We stayed scoreless all the way until the 5th inning, where the Diamond Hoppers had a single run scored in the top of the 5th. And then, it stayed frozen again all the way until the 9th inning. Hoppers leading at 1-0, and then the Unicorns, they get 2 runs to not only tie the game and potentially send it into sudden death, but to win it 2-1. It was off of an RBI. It was off of 2 separate RBIs, 2 hits and 2 runs in the 9th inning. The Hoppers were so close to staying on top of the USPBL, but the Unicorns got the best of them. But not to worry for you Hopper fans. There's plenty of season left to go. So that is going to wrap up our coverage of not only Oakland baseball, but the USPBL, of which I hope to be visiting quite soon. I've been itching to go to Jimmy John's Field ever since the season started. I have yet to be into a game yet. All this talk I've been doing, and I haven't gone to a game yet. Shame on me. I know, I'm embarrassed. But that's going to wrap it up for your Oakland and USPBL Sports Update segment of the Jomo Show. Get ready for Fraud Watch. Going to be coming up real soon here after this break here on 88.3 FM WXOU on the Jomo Show. We'll be right back.